I guess we would start with, are you ready, Nick?
Yep.
Yeah. So if we were gonna, if you were gonna start a debate program, or if you're building a debate program, what do you think you would need guidance to do? We talked about public debate. Sort of general teaching of novices, and then topic specific stuff. Okay, like here's how to coach a novice, but then also here's, an instructional video on how to write a 1AC. And here's an instructional video on how to write this ad, or something, stuff like that.
So this is past justifying your existence and now just onto pedagogy?
I think it's everything.
I think we need to start with justifying.
So we're gonna draw a big list, and then ask lots of people in the community to contribute, and then organize it based on topics.
Budgeting, tournament planning, travel planning, justifying your existence.
Basically, like why it's okay that you need money that scales more than just a student club / organization, which most people don't grasp or comprehend because the only thing that's like that usually is sports.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was saying this morning that I talk a lot to our honors people because they have to sort of answer the same thing. They're getting a lot of money to serve a smaller group of students or already served by all these other university resources. Running press releases.
Like you're entering these things, so you don't need me to take
Yeah,
notes on them.
anything students want to do. And obviously, some of these things are not just for new programs, right? There are existing programs that are bad at writing press releases and justifying their existence and things like that.
We're sort of, this category is directing forensics and coaching,
Basically,
recruiting students, retaining students, teaching and preparing students.
and probably a subset under that teaching students is what we're talking about with creating a unit that people can drop into a debate class that mirrors our topic. Yeah, I'm on the other thing with MLK, what I did this morning that, there's a lot of places that teach a debate class.
Mhm.
And if we can create, a set of evidence, some demonstration debates and that sort of thing on something that was a subset of the topic or something like that, and gave that to them, then it might be easier then to say, hey, if your students like this in your class, this would be a local tournament you could go to, and they could try it out. So sort of
By the way,
give them the product first and then say, oh, and if you like that, why don't you come check out what we're doing?
I get a dozen requests or more every year for just that, since I have the textbook.
Yeah.
And my publisher would never support development of that, resource.
But if we could, and then when they contact you, you say, hey, go to the CEDA website.
Sure.
That'd be great. You'd be like our pusher. Seems like I got some policy topics over here, some parley topics over here.
Be careful. Remember what people do with my book.
What else? I feel like I got a lot more this morning. We do some post
See, I was taking some notes this morning.
lunch calisthenics. Anyway, what did it take you a long time to figure out what to do? Stuff like register. We were talking about doing like the one pagers, like registering on Taproot and stuff like that.
Mhm.
It's not intuitive.
The wiki.
Just
Yeah,
awareness of
very good.
existing
I was
resources.
looking at Tab Room and they already have that. They have a really good.
Oh, do they have a
it's-
Primer now?
It's very thorough. Yeah.
Well, then our
We need
webpage
to make
still
that.
should have a link to that.
Yeah, they have the Tab Room online manual.
I think if we make our tab room the first stop, that leads to everything. What page?
Our webpage. Yeah. Well, and somebody might not even know to go to tab, right? They're like, I want to enter a tournament, but I don't know where those tournaments are. And
How to find tournaments. I think we need like a list of other programs in your area that you can reach out to. So like nobody knows what Mid-Atlantic means or what's Iowa in the North Central.
I think our membership should be organized by region and posted there.
and with contacts.
Yeah.
Allison says, Allison says, you're not answering when she calls you.
I'm no longer on Skype because it wasn't really working.
That's why then.
They killed the video last time, so I told her we might try somebody else's computer if somebody else wanted to Skype right on their computer.
So what else? I mean, we could also figure out the list of sort of the subdividing of like what debate topics, like debate instructional videos we want to cover, because that way we can divide those out.
Mhm. Sample press releases.
Yeah, I got that.
Maybe some sort of centralized running list of what debate alumni have done that's successful
That's a
and
great
of
idea.
esteem. I've noticed like somewhere in like CEDA forums at some point somebody's posted like asking for something like that, and then somebody's kept some sort of unofficial list. And I know that I can use that list and expanded it with someone I know and put it like by my office. But if you need selling factor to your local university where you're housed, then that could be one way of explaining.
How old is Parcher's document? That's
20.
10 or 20? Is it really that old? Somebody needs to update that.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of people who finish debate, go do something interesting, but then they slip through the cracks in terms of our knowledge of that.
Yeah.
And then it lends credence to the narrative of debate just being this esoteric activity when it isn't necessarily. So,
Well,
Maybe
what
somebody with 10 degrees
stakeholders,
did not do our type.
what my administrators like to hear, and thankfully my alumni is pretty good at doing this, is they like to hear from the alumni 10, 20, 30, 40 years out that the thing that they remember that makes them loyal to the institution is debate.
So I'm
You know,
thinking
whether or not,
I'm thinking we need testimonials from
Yes.
alums and university administrators. Like if we've got some quotes and put them on our website so that when you're working on your justification for your debate program, you can just pull some of those off on the website and say, president of University of Miami says this about debate. This alum who holds this position says this about their time in debate. Because you're right, the things that the university administrators are most impressed by are either other administrators who think debate's great or their alums.
there's not a lot of it, but whatever research exists, and we ought to generate more, but whatever research that exists that shows accountability measures, increased critical thinking, that stuff's 30 years old. But there's, UDLs have generated some data on increased learning skills and stuff.
Maybe we should have somewhere on our website sort of a highlighted article each month that sort of is one of these articles that's sort of like, here's the value of debate or something like that.
Mhm.
And we've been using the Facebook page and the Twitter account to keep up with all of the new ones that we come across. So already,
Yeah, but it's great, but like if you're not a
I'm not
debate
saying
person,
everybody-
right, if you're not a debate person already, I know, I think the Facebook one's nice because it's easily updated, you update it often and that sort of thing.
What about templates and paperless debate?
I just forget about paperless. We probably need like some sort of, if we're thinking about people doing debate who've never done it before, judging tutorials.
We need some instruction on prep sheets.
Okay.
Do we know how much storage room we have on the website? Because the NSDA has said that they will store some videos for us,
Oh,
which helps.
that'd be great.
But we should make sure that we have the capacity to post all of this stuff.
Last summer he said that wasn't a problem.
Yeah, because I think it's just on Wichita State's server, so I think it's big enough that it's not an issue. We just need the website. Allison actually was watching the movie. So I put things that like sort of the top, sort of the more minutia sort of how debate works. So like the 1AC, disads, critiques, counterplans, T, cross X, being they're like generally being AF, being neg. What are the sort of instructional type things?
Flowing,
Rebuttaling.
flowing, like taking notes. It's not the same as looking at your screen.
We had a debater who we found out this year was just reading other people's 2ARs of her 2AR. So she was like going to the Dropbox with my 2ARs from previous tournaments. I was just reading it. Whether they had anything that she was trying to find what kind of maps the debate was going on. I was just reading that.
How was she doing?
They were okay. Her work was really good.
That's why I'm in
I probably
debate.
shouldn't have told us around the
My
line.
first tournament, I joined debate on a Thursday, and on Friday, they handed me 2 speeches. We were an affirmative team. It was 4-person debate.
Uh-huh.
And so I just got up every round and read the same speeches. We went 3-1 and got a trophy. So I could do this.
What else?
What are you thinking about topics for sort of categories
Yeah.
of?
And we can add broad stuff too if people think of more broad things, but it seemed like people were stagnating there. So
Well, I have a increasing speaker point / cross-X lecture that I already have on video.
what was that?
I already, if you want to do the you have cross-X listed there. If you list it as increasing speaker points and cross-X, I already have a video lecture
Oh, awesome.
Well, I want that.
That you did or you used?
that I did.
Sounds like a good emails.
Figure out how to get it off Google Drive to somebody. It's right here.
One thing that I've found helpful over the years, I mean, it's not starting a program, but growing a program,
Yeah, I mean, we need those.
is comparison data. Number of coaches, coach-student ratio, budgets, salaries.
I think Jordan did a survey on.
I keep hearing that, I've
salaries
never
on-
seen it.
Yes,
I don't
I've
know.
asked him for it a couple of times.
Yeah, I've never seen the data.
I don't know if he's finished.
Yeah, the hard part about those is the places that have the biggest budgets are the ones who, like a bunch of people sent me data that were like, you can't ever tell anyone.
Huh.
I
Any of
know.
this data when I was getting our budget increase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the coaching staff one is easy to do, right? Like, you can sort of look at their revenue.
Yeah.
That's good enough. I mean, that helped. I mean, that's why we got our budget increase, because I was able to say teams in the top 50 that responded to my inquiry, this is their average budget, average coaching staff.
Mhm.
We're
Yeah, that has
$80,000 behind the average.
Mhm.
There were surveys, this is also 25 years old. I think Steve Hunt did them
Mhm.
a couple of years in a row. That
CEDA used to do a survey every year that was like, please
Yeah.
answer these questions about your
they,
budget.
and you'd have the ranking compared to
Yeah.
resources.
Like when I did ours, I actually had some programs, I'm like, we are not allowed to tell you. It's
Right.
like, you're a public institution. It's things like I can find it out.
Yeah, you can look up their salary.
Well, that you can look at, but you don't know what their travel budget
I know,
is.
I know. I'll tell you ours.
You did. I mean, you did when I asked. Yeah.
It's no secret. I don't know why.
Yeah,
It would be a secret.
I'm not sure. What people like.
But
So
you're
Gabe,
right.
if you were taking over your own debate team tomorrow,
Mhm.
what questions would you want to ask people? Because you would ask people, right? You'd find people you knew who were directing programs and ask them.
Yeah.
But if you don't know those people to ask them, what questions are you asking? I mean, for me, one that's like navigating navigating
University.
CEDA's type of stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing I got the most questions for. Like D'Lo when he started his team, Devin, they were like, so how do I register for this? How do I join CEDA
Yeah.
as a new program?
Yeah, that needs to be,
AFA.
I guess we could say the early debate organizations.
I mean, it's different at every institution, but how to become familiar with the travel rules and regulations,
Yeah, I've got that
with,
on there.
harassment policies and,
Oh, yeah.
and speech codes, if there are such, or whatever kind of rules and regulations are there.
Harassment, Title IX.
I had something that happened 2 years ago that had never happened before. I had a kid who was 16 years old on the squad. And he didn't look it. I had never asked, and now I do. Because they do, and there's a whole set of university things.
Especially
jump through.
traveling.
I'm also gonna put setting, squad, rules, what do you call it, like, travel waivers. We needed them because kids were like leaving from a tournament, not coming with us, and the university kept to have a travel waiver. So I didn't I copied the one, but the most generic one I could find was like the Notre Dame baseball. But like if we put something up like that all the school has to do is put in their school name and they're covered. Sort of thing.
I remember our high school debate one for insurance purposes. Travel debate team was the football teams about head injuries.
I thought too hard.
So is this all going to be on the CEDA website?
Mhm. Yep.
Maybe one way of organizing it would be the bare minimum, just get some kids in a van, go to a tournament, what you need information, and then like the options to sort of delve deeper,
Yeah.
because this might be too daunting
Oh, yeah.
for somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, my guess is we have like a big button that's like starting a debate program, and you click on it, and then it'd be like sort of like a very basic primer, like first thing, join CEDA, it's free,
Yeah.
and then now go recruit some kids. Here's links to some ideas about recruiting students. Now construct arguments. Here's some links to constructing arguments. We could have like a document, I think, that's hyperlinked to a bunch of these other things, but sort of provides a checklist for them. They can sort of work through it on their own.
Checklist really makes it
I
seem
mean, I think
manageable.
ideally, in my vision, you would connect to one of us or an established, experienced director and receive mentoring or,
Well, we have subcommittees on the program development committee. Nick is in charge of new programs, ML is in charge of emerging programs, and then Travis Cram is going to be in charge of at-risk programs. I think if someone clicked, I want to start a new program or I want help with an emerging program, I don't think that those people would necessarily be in charge of that program. They might instead find somebody in the region. But what happens a lot of times is people will send an email generally, and then it falls through the cracks, right? So it's nice if we have a central place that they go.
the notion, this just reminds me of a conversation that we've had repeatedly, but if a program is at risk, like we get these people at the end, right? Their budget's already been cut. Can we write a letter of support so they can appeal? It's too late.
Right.
And
Yeah,
really, the programs that are at risk go to be programs that are not at risk. They're everybody. Right. And what you need to do on an everyday basis to ingrain yourself in the
One of
institution.
the questions Allison asked me before this meeting was sort of, what do we mean when we say a program at risk? Right? Because I think those
say what?
What do we mean when we say a program at risk? Right? And I think that's a really good question, because I think the programs you're talking about are probably not even programs that are at risk. Those are probably programs that are done. Right. So I mean, we need to find better ways to.
But I think we're all potentially at risk. Everybody is.
Sure.
Right. And we all need to do the right things to prevent becoming over.
Right.
the
But
edge.
I think that those of us who are thinking about these sorts of things might find some ways to be proactive. I think there are some people who the day-to-day act of running a debate team and coaching means they're so focused on that they're not focusing on bigger picture things. And those are the type of programs we should say, hey, we notice you have less debaters than you used to have. We notice you're going to less tournaments than you used to have. Is there something we can do to help you out? You know, so it doesn't get to the point where we're writing letters to people who are never going to read them and never going to stay in the debate program. So I think that's the real trick is, yeah, we're all already at risk. And that's why Allison asked the other question, what does emerging program mean? And I think we're all emerging programs at different points, right? Like sometimes we're like, I'm okay with what we're doing now. I'm okay with our budget. I'm going to do what I'm doing for a couple of years, and then we'll try and do something new, right? So I think squads will come in and out of being an emerging program. And that's why we need to sort of figure out what resources they need. Like for me, writing a budget proposal, I basically did it from scratch. I had nobody else's budget proposal to look at. I'm gonna put writing a budget proposal / new coach position. That was actually harder for me to write than the budget proposal. I didn't really know sort of how to justify it, what other programs have.
I mean, I've gone through both of those and other things too, you know, and asked to look at other people's and compare them. And almost to a one, I just said that would not work at all. And those aren't consistent with our institutional aims and goals and how we envision ourselves, you know, and people are pushing things that would be irrelevant.
I think would be interesting. Like I think having a sample one is good, but I think like some guidelines towards writing these, and then here's 3 samples that other universities have used, right? And pick 3 varied samples. So because they weren't making arguments that your administration would find persuasive, but the format and the form they followed probably was one that you could use, right? You have to just plug in sort of your specific things that were happening at your university.
It might even change during the course because when we got the new president, or the last new president, we went from administrations who looked at the rankings and kind of rolled their eyes, you know, and it was almost counterproductive to talk about how we had a team win a tournament or we were ranked somewhere. They wanted to know other stuff about their grade points and what they did after graduation and stuff. Then we got the new president, we got the new provost, wanted to get ranked in U.S. News and World Reports, and rankings were everything.
Yeah.
That's kind of our status quo now. So, but I had to develop the relationships, ask questions. It's not written down anywhere.
Right.
I had to figure that out. And so somebody new starting out, certainly my first 5 to 10 years of being a director, I was blind. I didn't realize that stuff.
My first summer, I moved up there the summer before I started, and I still do this now. Every week I meet somebody new on campus. Like I make up some excuse to meet with this person over here, and I go meet them, right? Because then I have those relationships, and if I need, like I forget every time we host an event to have our Wi-Fi turned on, but that guy knows me because I went and met him face to face when we set up our Wi-Fi instead of exchanging emails. Like I think that's the thing. I think we can write a document that's like, here's how you generate relationships on campus, which they make all of your other jobs.
And by the way, that's not just program, that's your own personal survival in the institution too.
Oh, we should have things like writing a newsletter,
website, using social networking,
alumni outreach / events. I feel like every time I write one of those, it's like, oh, that was a big hole. How do we miss a lot I could have alumni stuff other for CEDA, but not for general.
Well, if it's a new program, they don't have alumni.
Right. Well, they don't have debate alums. They still have people who might contribute to a debate team.
And it might be, there's a bunch of programs that used to have programs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to mention that before too, is that, you know, in a strategy that evaluates, remember I was talking about looking at a list of who were
Yeah.
members in the 80s and who's going back and tracking each one of those and finding out if there's any institutional memory of the debate team and if it's good. And there's a way of you know, reaching the people who would care and could bring it back. And those might be alumni, those might be faculty who
So
are
that's
still
sort of on another to-do
administration.
list.
Sure.
I'm gonna call it CEDA genealogy. Is that right?
Well, one of the things that it's not for like new programs checklist or whatever, we had talked about last night was the letters to schools.
Mhm.
You may send out 400 letters, but if you get 2 hits,
Yeah.
that's a success.
One of the things Nick and I are gonna do is write to every college and university in Virginia. I figure since I'm CEDA president and I'm at JMU, and we've won this public debate award, I'm gonna write to all these universities and be like, hey, you know, 3 of the top 10 schools in the rankings are in Virginia. You should come on board, compete with us. We'll provide you all the support. Because I was like, you write letters to 400 and 2 of them say yes. You get 2 new programs. My department gives me free postage, so it doesn't cost me anything. So might as well.
I think it also might not be a bad idea to send a letter to every administration that's an active CEDA program.
Mhm.
Just be like, thank you for supporting Cross Nation Debate Association. These are the reasons why we think it's good for your school to kind of preemptively, you know, in case teams start to face issues.
Yeah, and I'm saying like that. The nice part about those two is if there's a lot of university presidents who sort of aren't sure, don't even know there's a debate team, don't know, and if they know, they might not know who's in charge.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to say, hey, so and so is doing a great job with your debate program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it also goes in your folder if you're up for
Yeah.
review or promotion or tenure.
And then that's an incentive for that person to keep doing debate because now the president got information about them because of their involvement in debate.
How to hire judges to cover judging.
Yeah, because that's the thing too. If you're a new program director and now you have 3 teams, it's like, well, how do I cover the judging for that? What does that even mean?
You also got to figure out like the basics, like requesting a room for a team meeting, organizing team meetings.
Yeah.
Developing a practicum class. That sort of thing.
Justifications for the practicum class.
You mean credit the students get for participation?
Yeah, a 1 credit or whatever.
It's also
class.
one of the ways that a faculty member can be
Oh yeah, it's part of my load.
can get a release or overload or something like that for it. Right? There's got to be some incentive for getting faculty members who are currently not doing debate to do debate. Right? Some will do it out of the kindness of their heart because they think it's interesting, but most you need some sort of carrot to drag them in. I'm looking for old conversations that I had.
I found a site that someone wants to start a new program. It was 6 years ago.
Uh-huh.
Questions they're asking.
Yeah.
That's what I'm telling you.
I mean, the most common thing I hear about is some student, somebody who debated in high school,
Mhm.
you know, wants to start a debate team or a debate club or something. They don't have any faculty or administrative support, which is a different profile than what we've been talking
Yeah.
about. But it can happen. I mean, there are student groups.
Yeah, I'm putting on here how to find a faculty sponsor / support. Because like the problem is like Virginia Tech was trying to start a team for a couple of years, and then those kids graduated. Same thing with Georgia Tech, right? Those teams basically disappeared.
Right.
Right. It'd be nice if those students weren't. I mean, it's hard. It's even harder for an undergrad. You don't get many Joe Chaps who are like, I'm an undergraduate starting a debate team, and I also want to make sure there's a debate team when I leave. Most of them are like, I want to debate while I'm here, and if a team develops, no big deal, right? So if we sort of find someone and give them a document and say, hey, while you're there, maybe you should try this thing to try and get some faculty support.
We need links to all of our social media, Facebook page, whatever else we have.
I think one thing that might be useful is an explanation of the organizations. I know we're just CEDA, but like it's confusing with there's ADA, there's NDT, there's CEDA. What do those organizations do and why CEDA is the important one? We set the topic, what the topic process is like, how new programs go about voting and interacting on the topic, things like that.
We like a glossary of debate terms.
Be useful.
MSU did one a while ago, I think.
Yeah, they have a wiki.
I'd like as much of this stuff as possible to belong to us. Especially if theirs is the wiki.
Yeah.
I think we want to try and keep people on our website.
No, I
when
agree.
We can.
That's part of the fragmentation of all this knowledge.
Now they clicked off to another link and they're somewhere else, and we can't control the content or anything else.
Right. It could change. It could get deleted, and
Right.
we've got bad links that we won't
I
know.
mean, that's the problem. We have a bunch of, like, our old website for this one had a bunch of dead links. So you click on something and it was gone.
Yeah.
So.
I
But
think
that doesn't mean they might not be willing to write up a sort of shorter version of what's on that wiki.
I think travel planning, we might need to break that down into like reserving vans at your own school, reserving hotel rooms, the arrangements of actually getting to tournaments, things like that. Because the on-campus stuff is sometimes more difficult than everybody knows how to use.
It is
kayak or
going to
whatever.
be different at every institution, but you do need to seek out the
You got to find the people.
power of people.
A lot of those, I think, would be like things to think about, right? Like sort of like
Right.
a list of like, here's the stuff you might want to think about your university. Check, blank, check, blank. That's what
You want to identify. The other thing that would be nice. The problem with Tab Room for new programs is all of the high school tournaments that are also listed. So like a central resource of here's all the college debate tournaments that are on the calendar. You can plan your travel schedule with that singular resource. So you know which ones are close to you, which ones are farther away.
We try to keep that on our calendar.
Yeah. I mean, CEDA should have
If
its
you wanna-
own calendar.
If you want to move that, the unofficial to CEDA, that's fine.
I mean, there is a column for NDT, CEDA on Tab Room, but it'd be nice if you could just
You just-
look at everything else.
Yeah, you
Like,
just see what you want. And
Yeah.
for a new program, you just look there and you're like, that's overwhelming.
Sometimes I'm like, that's a lot of stuff. When you first open that page.
I mean, every once in a while we get high schools that register for the college tournaments.
All the time. Every year we have one or two.
Yeah, just because it's confusing.
The MSU Wiki's subscription has expired. We can try the Wayback Machine.
The Wayback Machine doesn't work. I love the Wayback Machine. Trying to think of things I screw up on a daily basis. Student eligibility.
Oh, eligibility tax.
And that's one of the ones where I feel like we could just put a form on there that's like, enter your student's name and student IDs in here and give this to your registrar.
Mhm.
You know, that sort of thing. It's like that simple, sort of like
Yeah.
a little preamble that says, in order to participate in CEDA Nationals, you have to have the following. Here's the document.
Maybe something on anticipating professor pushback, you know, because professors might be like, oh, you're gone from Friday through Tuesday, that's unacceptable.
And a sample excuse letter.
Yeah.
So the excuse letter. The other thing I said is we're going to do a survey to send all the CEDA members that ask sort of the same question.
And they might supply some
Yeah,
things.
like what sort of resources would you want to see from CEDA if we're doing, I'll explain the project and be like, what sort of resources would you want to see? Do you think we need to ask anything more than that question if we're going to send out this survey anyway?
Other than what? I mean, it depends. Well, how do you want to word the question? Just like broadly, what do you want, or what programs would you like to see? Or what questions?
Yeah,
would
so,
you ask?
so CEDA is working on some program development documents to assist new, emerging, and at-risk programs. What documents would you like to see included, would help you with your own program? Something like that.
I think that's good, yeah.
I think
So
a
that's
one
would be
question-
helpful or would have been helpful in the past or
Yeah.
It'd be nice. I mean, it's in the rules, but like a definition of novice, JV, and varsity that's quickly and easily accessible for new programs.
Maybe with some examples too.
Right.
Like Rutgers screwed that up for like 2 years, couldn't figure out what division anything was supposed to be. So if we do a survey of programs that have left, what do we want to ask them?
Well,
It's gonna be limited because there's some places where there's just nobody even associated with debate anymore there. You can't ask them, but if they've gone to do another type of debate or stopped doing debate or something like that. I think about like UNC, like
Wow.
Corey Dahmer's still there, but they don't do debate.
I mean, I think we just ask, what were your reasons for leaving? And
What could we do?
could have CEDA done?
What could we do?
Yeah, what could
Let's be
CEDA
more
do?
what could we do to get you back?
I mean, I'm interested in the narrative and who made the call, who made the decision.
Do you think that would be answered in the why did you leave, or do you think we should ask an additional question?
See, I think it needs to be an interview, not a survey in those cases, because it's going to lead based on, you know, what you're finding out.
That's a lot.
UNC is a great example. I don't
That's a
even-
lot.
But who made the decision?
You think that's a
Administration.
separate question than why did you leave?
I do, I think that they may omit that in why you left, and it might be.
And there's often misconception, you know, that it was made by the faculty in comm studies, when in fact it was a dean or a provost or something. Or, you know, the conditions under which it was made were severe budget cutbacks. So it wasn't a failure to endorse debate, it was just something happened.
Because I think that's the only way we start to identify at-risk programs is if we start to figure out why programs disappeared in the first
Yeah,
place.
no, I agree.
Because programs we might not think are at risk are probably at great risk because they mirror these other programs that all left.
I mean, I went to Auburn and
I won't hold that against you.
they never had
Go
a,
Dogs.
it was a great experience. Nothing but fun and sport. They eliminated the debate program. After David Thomas left, there was a series of sort of failed directors there, and it just became a problem for them to staff it. And it wasn't the lack of willingness to fund a debate program. I'm not sure who would tell that story who was in-house that we
Yeah.
could find.
I put on here assistance for universities hiring debate coaches. So if somebody's hiring a debate coach and doesn't know anything about debate, what sort of things should they look for? How do they write that job announcement? Something like that. Because I know like at Southern Miss, the person who was in charge of that search went to graduate school with me and Gordon and Ryan and Jared. So she sent her job description to us and we looked it over and said, oh, add this, change this to this other thing. But I imagine if we reached out to somebody and they said, oh yeah, we'd be interested in your debate program, it'd be nice to say, oh, and here's how you would advertise for something.
No, I had that same experience at with FIU, and Joanne Brown, the department chair there, and we got it. You know, they wrote the job description that was Chris Willis,
Mhm.
hired him, and he left voluntarily. And they tried to fill it with another Chris Willis, but there just, you know, there was nobody else. They wanted to hire a CEDA policy debate person, but could not get an applicant, much less hire somebody.
He left pretty late in the year, right? I think he left pretty late in the year.
Could have been, I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, because Allison, when we were having that conversation earlier, she's like, that there were no jobs this year for people with PhDs. Because you were like, we need to hire more.
Yeah, no,
PhDs.
I was kind of shocked about that, about her not landing. I thought,
Yeah.
golly, she's great.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to hire her.
Do you want to start to brainstorm some people to take on these tasks? And maybe we'll come up with some more while we're going.
I volunteered Dinger and Oliver for all. No.
From all of them. Well, I said I would do the public debate one.
Do we have a generic, like, this is how a debate round functions?
I'm putting it at the top of all the 1AC.
You know, one thing that means a lot with our program in keeping people is preparing them for that first debate experience so it's not a shock. And the experienced debaters tell their story of what it was like for them when they went to their
So,
first
so not what
debate.
just as not just an individual debate format,
How does
but
it
it's a
tournament?
tournament format.
Yeah.
'Cause we do the same thing.
And not just the format, but the experience of it, how it felt, what it was like, you know.
Because the 2-day versus a regional versus a national tournament, they're all very different
Well, like
experiences.
we do like what a pairing means before they go to the first
Yeah.
tournament. So they're not like, what is all this
Sure.
stuff?
And you could even have some clips of people interacting, going through a tournament,
Mhm.
not around, but, you know, getting the pairings, having lunch, things like that.
So moms, when you take novices to their first tournament, what do you do before you take them to the first tournament?
Well, we have practice rounds, that's one thing for sure. And strategy wise, there's a discussion of just kind of like what generic things can you default to. And I mean, I really try to run to each individual team before each round to sort of give them a lowdown on how things might happen. Besides that, I kind of prep them a little bit in terms of how to keep your cool in rounds, because I find, you know, there's sort of like a maturity level that's learned through having many debates that novices may not have. They might feel kind of combative or just kind of like feel like they were wronged in each and every possible instance.
Right.
So I guess there's a sort of level-headedness that needs to be coached.
Yeah, we do like a looking like a winner sort of.
Yeah.
It's okay, relax. That sort of thing.
Yeah, how
I mean,
to listen to the judge at the end of the day.
I also try to just sort of give them the idea that this is a long-term campaign.
Mhm.
So, yeah, by analogy, you know, somebody who's running for an office or something wouldn't let themselves being burned in one particular state or one setting and the end of everything, because you're building relationships with people over the long term, including judges. So.
What do you know? You still on
I don't know that I have anything, I mean, we've run through, what will it look like next week? Here's what we do, and then on Thursday, y'all meet, I mean, I just run through that, and then I let some of the older ones give advice. What do they know now that they wish they had known?
I put a topic primer on here, so we don't do one of those each year, obviously.
Do we need to, mention, like, AFA, our relationship to AFA, or,
I put Nick said the like navigating CEDA stuff and then differentiating from the other organizations. So I put that sort of parentheses there.
Is that how most people pay their CETA dues?
Well, new programs don't have to pay.
Oh,
their
that's right, yeah.
CEDA dues. I think most people pay their CEDA dues at CEDA Nationals.
no?
No,
Well, they pay through the PayPal account. Only about,
when they pay for their CEDA dues, then they do, right? Very few
Not
people
every
pay
month.
before,
yeah, I think it was like 18 this year
paid before them.
through AFA.
That's how.
All right, so do we wanna? Do we wanna try and figure out people to ask for this? For these, do we wanna send out a general call? My concern about a general call is that if we either won't get people or we'll get, or somebody will volunteer for like 8 of these things and we want there to be some diversity, or we might think there's somebody who's really good for one of these that we want to reach out to.
I think a general call is not as effective as reaching out and asking. I think we can make a general call that says, here's what we've done, and people are working on various things. Because we've asked.
Right.
And if you want to join, please.
Contact this person.
Do you think maybe we need to prioritize? I mean, we've got a lot of stuff there.
Jeff Kerr says the document we're putting together could be helpful for other programs to justify faculty debate positions at their school, basically showing different ways that to have faculty debate coaches.
Oh, we talked about that, right? We talked about having different models of coaches. Yep, I'll put that down with how I read the job description. Yeah, because we said some programs might want the staff type of person, but other people might be more attracted to one where it's like, oh, I can hire a tenure track faculty member
Or a PhD student.
or a PhD.
You have the link.
Mm-hmm. All right, so do you think we could get Heather to do a how to coach novices tutorial?
Probably.
We can at least ask her.
Yeah.
I mean, she's probably coached more novices than anybody else. So and her novices are very successful. So. All right, so the other things that are on here, who sees things that they think would go well with particular individuals?
I'm willing to do any of the videos about arguments or content stuff. Those ones I know, I honestly am not very good for budgeting. Plan money, I just
That's great.
don't.
You show people how to get yours.
Yeah.
What if we asked Jared to do the alumni outreach / events?
I could also do the social media stuff. Mm. Do that.
I'm also I'm trying to think across.
I got the list of schools that were at CEDA, and maybe that'll help us think of people.
Yep, that's a good idea.
And they are in
Okay. So Boston College, I don't know. If they were-
Boston College is not.
The other thing that's useful is not just like how the debate tournament functions when you're there, but like how pairings are done,
Right.
how elims are done, because people are still constantly asking, how does an
Right.
elim C work?
Yeah, that's why I put tournament format / experience.
What about that guy, Fred, at Concordia?
Sternhagen?
Is there might be something on that list?
He's real good at dealing with high-level administrators, developing those institutional criteria.
It's really justifying your existence. It's sort of.
Well, matching it with the institutions.
Yeah, so like debate team mission statement and matching it with your university's mission statement.
He's always in charge of their school's accreditation reviews.
I can do recruitment too.
Oh, yeah.
At Fullerton. Female, she's been there about 3 years. Erica. I think she would produce something if there's a slot on there. That Keenan would do something.
So when they do this, are they just emailing their content that they produced or whatever to you, and then it gets compiled on the CEDA website? Okay. In that case, I have like a internal Cornell manual that I give out.
Sorry.
I have like an internal Cornell manual that I give out to students,
I'm watching
but
a
most
feed
of
of
that information is like what our Dropbox organization looks like. So it's very like particular to us.
Right.
But there is a section that has like the parts of speeches and what you can do in a debate. And I guess I just pluck that part out of the PDF.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a question too, like, we also want, I think we want some of that stuff on video with probably, so I think it would be
This is
nice-
like a sheet, that, like not a.
Right, I was saying, it'd be nice to have a video, but that sheet go along with it, right? So like, because I think that what we were talking about this morning, I think a lot of our students will watch a 2-minute video before they would read something. Take that sheet into debates with them, right? So something like that, I think is really useful for students to take with them. So you can sort of get a primer, put a face to someone, so that way, like if you gave the lecture on here's the format of debate, and they saw you in a term, they'd be like, hey, I know you, I can come talk to you. And there's a friendly face, but then they also have the primer.
Okay, so a couple of these very generic things that weren't Cornell specific, I'll pluck out of the PDF.
Okay.
Do we have like here's how to read judge philosophies? Like judge philosophies seem very daunting for a new program that has no idea who anybody is.
We have a bunch of stuff with no names next to it. If you were gonna create a bunch of videos and you said, these are the type of people that would pull people into the debate community, who would you? So it might make more sense to be like, who do we want to do videos, and then figure out what slide.
Hester and Sarah.
Mr. Sarah and Jeff,
Ed Lee.
that'll be great. Ed Lee. Sarah Spring, Erica Thomas, Devin, Tiffany,
Will Mosley Jensen.
I can't think of his name. He's now at the University of Washington.
Nick.
Brian Manuel, we can probably get to do stuff.
And Brian too, because he has the high school connection. Yeah. So high school was.
But I also think programs like we should reach out to whoever gets the job at Dartmouth.
Sean Ridley.
Yeah, Sean's great. Amber, Iggy,
Paul Johnson. Adrian.
You know, regionally.
Matt Moore. Let's go as one CEDA.
I was gonna think I'd email addresses for all the people names. That's a good start. Oh, how about Scott Harris?
David Granell.
Oh, yeah. Hilo.
Yeah, we should also think about people who are new directors as well, who might be able to do some of this stuff.
And maybe good because they could say, hey, the National Organization asked me to do mine. Harper says the feed is very bad.
Yeah, I just lost internet, so I booted it up and hopefully it's better.
This is a bad sign for tomorrow.
I'm watching it now and it looks like the stream's back to being there.
Which, are you on the
I'm on the real
really
network.
good network?
Yeah. Paul says it's working better now. I don't know why, but it kicked me and my browser's closed, and then I booted it back up. That seems to be okay again.
We got a couple of West Coast. I guess we have Omar.
I mean, the West Coast is like Simons.
Jake Thompson.
Yeah.
Jake could especially do like some of the like cultivating alumni relationships sort of stuff.
He's really good at that. What are the USC? They're gonna have a new
Yeah, we can also have Stables things.
Yeah. stable / whoever USC's new person is. SFSU is gonna have a new person. I don't know who that is yet.
That's I think that's a good list to go from.
Put Patrick Waldinger on.
We put Jarman down for website development. I mean, I can do a lot of these, like the sample sort of like the thing from student eligibility documents, like that sort of stuff is stuff that I think can sort of easily be checked off because it's literally me using my document with a little
tweaking.
I mean, a lot of this stuff isn't even like a full video.
right. A lot of it's like a page. Yeah. So I'm reminding like the ones that
Just sample documents.
well, because before we send it out too, we don't want to have it, be I'll volunteer for this thing that won't take very long.
Are they all videos?
No.
No. I think it's mostly the debate format. Like when I see that stuff as videos.
But we should also make that maybe decide what we think would be best as videos and what is just like
Yeah.
facts.
I think like a topic primer might be a good video of like, here's an introduction to the topic. Preferably from somebody that's on the topic committee that helped write the res.
But it could also maybe be part of the topic chair. Could maybe just say is also expected to do a topic primer.
Because what we did last year, which is like, here's all of the docs that were compiled for the topic, was also pretty useful. You could find like T cards and different app stuff in there. So like continuing that process of a single doc that maintains all of the committee's work in an organized
I mean,
manner.
that'd be overwhelming though if you were starting a new program.
Yeah.
I put on there for topic primer Galloway or designated topic member, like so he could rope somebody else into it.
Yeah.
But it'll be his responsibility to find someone.
I just emailed you some excerpts, Mike.
Maker says Jonah. Abby Williams.
We want to make,
We should have a establishing relationships with area high schools. That's different from recruiting. What What were you gonna say now?
I was curious if we wanted to make a public version of like these are tasks that we can see community input on other things that we may have missed. But now that we've plugged in names, it'd just be like a stripped down version of.
Well, that's
this
what
doc.
we're gonna do that survey. It's not a
I
survey
guess,
this
but it's
evening.
like these are the thoughts that we have compiled of what we want added to the CEDA website for new that we think new programs should have. Otherwise, I'm afraid that your survey will get too many of the same generic things because they doing the survey they won't have really thought about the question. They'll try to just quickly do the survey.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of that is valuable to allow people to sort of stream of consciousness participate, because if 30 programs say we need help with budget stuff,
That's true.
then that should be more robust.
That's an
than-
indication of where we need to focus.
Right. I think if we overdetermine, they're only gonna put sort of what we missed.
Maybe after the survey's out, we publish the list of things.
Hmm. Yeah, that was great. Alex. Can I see the stuff that you didn't excerpt out? The secret, super
Yeah.
secret Cornell stuff?
Yeah.
How to win according to Sam Nelson. I've seen that lecture before. Yeah, I think Paul was gonna do the research one.
I like that you can see who did stuff. So you can really create them with Google Doc.
It'd be nice if we did like our resources. So like, here's topic think tanks that would be relevant for your research.
Like, we should really have a link that's like the topic for new programs. They click on it. There's a video of somebody giving a topic primer lecture, and then here's resources.
Right.
Yeah, I would watch that.
It's a loaded question.
Paul said he should not do how to feed the debaters. That was their biggest complaint. But when we come home from tournaments, they would always get in the mail with me instead of Paul, because they knew I would stop for food. Or Paul wanted to get home. So any major holes that we're missing, or anything we want to ask somebody specifically to do?
Well, this morning we had talked about that live kind of seminar a week or two before GSU,
Mhm.
finding people for that, getting that organized.
I think you should be in charge of that. Not of doing the seminar, but in charge of organizing it.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's a big. That's gonna be novice.
Thanks for volunteering.
That won't be a video.
You want to do like the travel planning sort of,
I
that
can
sort of
do
stuff?
that too.
Assessment. I'll just say assessment.
That sounds like something we should
And I'm gonna volunteer
figure
for more of
out
that.
before. Do we have a method, a good method of assessment? Do we-
Paul is the chair of our assessment committee. So hopefully.
I wonder if tomorrow if we can just plug into the hard line.
Do you think that's the problem?
Maybe. You'd have a better connection in the hard line anyway.
It's gonna bring it back, so.
I would guess that would work.
Would at least improve it.
Yeah. Do we have an Ethernet cord?
I'm assuming we can go get one pretty easily. Their squadron probably has a bunch.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so we're missing big holes. Anything people can think of? And is there anything on here that we want to make sure we assign to a particular person?
I think maybe there's a distinction to be made between the regional differences of what your periphery of schools near you might be. So I know that in, certain more metropolitan or urban environments, there's urban debate leagues and things like that to reach out to. But then in other instances, your community college is rural and is like 15 miles away. And then what you do in terms of, trying to get a debate program connected with yours or trying to get them to start a debate program kind of differs. And also just generally, there's areas where I think schools benefit from geographic proximity to other schools that have things going on. But if you're isolated, then
Right.
you're dealing with a different can of worms.
Right, it's fairly easy, I mean, comparatively easy in the Northeast or the Mid-Atlantic to start a debate program, right? Like, never easy, but it's comparatively easy than if you're in, Montana, and you want to start a debate team. It's like, how do you do that?
Well, I mean, even in the Northeast, upstate New York is a vast central area with just a lot of forests and hills and not much going on.
Right, but you're 6 hours away from a bunch of tournaments.
True.
Does everybody feel good about this list? If you were starting a program, you'd have everything you need, you'd have a program up and running by September, right?
Looks pretty thorough.
It's a lot of stuff.
You can assign me,
My guess is even after we get feedback from community members, people do all these videos and things. My guess is when I start to organize it into sections, I'll be like, oh, here's a
Big
big
gap.
hole that we missed. So. I'm gonna send this out to the people we talked about, so if we want to take a break or, I don't have much else after this part to do unless people have other agenda items.
I don't really any other agenda items. If anyone here, if anyone wants to host CEDA in 2017, just let me know.
Who doesn't want to host CEDA?
Particularly in the D4,
D4 is,
Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin.
so Iowa or Minnesota.
You and I think
Are they
you and
big
I
enough?
might actually, you and I might be big enough. You and I might reach out.
Every time somebody says you and I think it's like you and I. You and I can definitely host you. Just in attachments. And everybody's going to Binghamton, right? We're bringing all our novices.
Yeah, it's nice that it's close.
I'm working on bringing one to you.
And the NDT will immediately follow with a day off or two.
I'm not sure if it's one or two.
I'm gonna send this out to everybody. If you have other things, you should feel free to talk amongst yourselves.
What's a realistic timeline that I should be looking at for CEDA hosts? When should I start to freak out? We already have the summer meeting taken care of.
Good job.
So that's good.
I mean, my impression when I look over this list is that in vague ways, perusing the internet, I've seen some of these things on different people's websites and bits and pieces before, but it's like the centralization isn't there.
And I think there's some branding too. Like I think if we make them more,
I think we want to see the branding.
right, ones like CEDA branding on it.
And then I also think that for anyone who's getting into debate for the first time, the existence of the different formats of debate creates like a lot of white noise. Like they don't know necessarily to differentiate party, policy, LDPF, whatever, all those sorts of things. And then that could lead them down a direction where maybe that's not necessarily CEDA debate anymore. They don't even realize it. So.
Right, and that's why it's good to have sort of a closed loop, I think.
I think it's good also to not like pretend like those other formats don't exist.
Right.
They do, and then some departments have them, interchangeably, but it needs to be made clear like what policy debate is in particular and what it offers.
I do not have email addresses for the following people. Erica Thomas.
Yes, I've got, I'll send it to you.
Devin Cooper. Because Devin and I only ever communicate via. Jonah Feldman.
Jonah Feldman at Gmail.
I should just try those and see.
I was waiting to see if you had others, I put them all in an email.
Ignacio Evans and Jason Renier.
Anyone else?
That's it. Yes.
Okay.
Why?
I just didn't, some kind of like seclude, some kind of resource to make sure that the DAC doesn't just get deleted or whatever. So if it's sent out to a bunch of anonymous people, then
Yeah, only people who have the link can open it. So.
Okay.
No, I've not sent it out yet.
oh, because there's somebody anonymous in
No,
there.
I've not sent it out yet.
you
I already got it from you.
have? Okay. Any more you looking for?
Jason Renier was the last one. I need Fred Stern. I think you're gonna ask Heather.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot of people to ask. It's 46 people, so we get a nice diversity.
No, it's on that one. I didn't look for that one, but I will.
And Renier's? Could I get that?
No, I don't have one.
Well, it's an impressive group of coaches. Is the summary mixture the same weekend?
Let me check the NSTA. They said they can do it whenever. If assuming NSTA is the same weekend, yes. Yeah, they don't have the dates up on the website yet.
What else should we do?
You want to know the NCA schedule as it stands?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not finalized yet, and I have made some requests to push our Thursday panels later, but we open when the conference opens at 8 a.m. on Thursday morning with the assessment panel. Measure twice, avoid cuts, embracing missed assessment and measurement opportunities, and intercollegiate cross-examination debate, the longest title probably for any panel.
Are you gonna post this on the forums too?
Well, it's not final. I'm not really supposed to do that yet. July 1 is their date for that. As soon as it's final, I will. And then we have, that's 8 to 9:15. And then at 11 a.m., we have the Embracing Diversity and Debate about intersectional harassment, including ideas for prevention and responses. That's 11
Was
to
that
12.
yours? I was like, wow, why do you hate diversity?
Yeah,
And
that's,
then-
yeah,
I mean, I can tell you who's on these if you want.
I'm on that one, am I not?
Yes, the first one, let's see, was what? The assessment, which is chaired by Josh Gonzalez and Sarah Spring. Presenters are DCH, Dan Schallman, Louis Andrade, Will Mosley Jensen, Sarah Partlow LaFay, Paul Hayes, Gordon Staples, Eric Morris, Jeff Kerr, and Louis Pettit, and respondent Mike Davis. So
I don't have a ton
You
of
could
time to
just-
respond with all this.
that could just be your membership. You know, that could just be the general business meeting, I think, 'cause it's got
With a
enough people.
quorum.
It's a quorum. It's huge. And then the harassment one is a very long description, chaired by Sarah. Presenters Toy Green, Rebecca Steiner, Ted Albiniak, Devin Cooper, Kieran Dillon, is that how his name is pronounced? Allison Harper, Ashley Moore, Jackie Popes, ML, Sarah Spring, Sarah Partlow, Erica Thomas, and Denise Vaughn. Another business meeting.
That's what a lot of people always say.
And then yeah, and I'm worried about that. We need to make sure they show up because it doesn't matter how many people show up so much as that they all do, you know. And then at 3:30 p.m. on Thursday, Embracing Difference in Disability and Opportunity for Conversation, which is chaired by Sarah Spring, Toby from Rochester, I don't know. Do you all know? Sarah Beth Brooks, Chris Hall, Jalissa Jackson, Eric Lanning, Nicole Danielle Nave, Natalie Nelson, Zach Richter, Jim Schultz, Dan Stanfield, Mark Beater, Sarah Spring, Kieran G. Dillon, Josh Miller, and Crystal Lane Swift Ferguson, who's been submitting for years, and I think this is the first time she's actually part of a CEDA panel. Okay, so that's Thursday.
That's how many times you failed.
Three, three panels and about 100 people. On Friday,
So all of our panels on Thursday?
no,
we got
that's the three panels. We
We
have
got
three
three.
on Friday.
Oh, all on Friday, sorry.
Friday is, hang on,
Yeah,
just
that's
a minute
Thursday.
to navigate all this. At 8 a.m., exploring hip hop beyond its beats and rhymes, opportunities to analyze the power of music. Join other participants.
Yeah.
All right, take me a second to bring that up. We're back to back with three panels on Friday, 8 a.m., 9:30 a.m., and 11 a.m. This hip hop is chaired by Rachel Hastings from Southwestern College and Amy Ariano of University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Respondent is Bernardo Atias from Northridge. And the presenters are Crystal Lane Swift Ferguson,
Look at that,
Jackie
2 in
Popes.
1 year.
Jackie Popes, Dal White, Nick Sculio, Matt Maddox, Byron Craig, and Andre Johnson, and those are all papers. That's a paper panel. So a lot of people on paper.
Paper panel?
Hmm?
Was that submitted as a paper panel or
Yeah.
were they submitted?
It was submitted as a paper panel.
Not as individual papers.
No. None of those papers are completed, but they're extensive abstracts. Okay, the second one is, sounds familiar, developing debate programs, embracing opportunities for new, emerging, and at-risk programs, 9:30 a.m. on Friday. Pretty good time. Chaired by Matt Struth. Respondent is Sarah Partlow Lefebvre. And it has Allison Harper, Marie
Esme?
Travis Cram, and Randall Martinez. And at 11 a.m. we have our top papers, which is chaired by Michael Davis, respondent Joseph Cayley. And the presenters are Avery Henry with co-authors John Coach and Kelly Young, author Jackie Popst, author Allison Harper, and author Steve Yano. And that's it for Friday, 3 panels, 8 to 12:15. And then there's one on Saturday, one on Sunday. Bear with me a second, I'll tell you what they are and when they are. Saturday, is at 12:30 p.m. Embracing valuable opportunities for international students to engage in speech and debate in the United States. This is Paul Hayes, chair and respondent. Presenters, this is a paper panel, submitted as a paper panel. Stefan Burchard, Jackie Popst, Joseph Packer from Central Michigan University, and Randall Martinez. There's one more, it's Sunday. It's at 8 a.m., I know that. Which on Sunday is the right time to be, because you get done.
Yeah, that's terrible. The Sunday ones are all terrible. NCAA shouldn't have a Sunday.
They're going till, they've got 11 a.m. panels on Sunday. Sure, they'll be well attended.
Yeah, I haven't last year.
This is embracing opportunities. Barack Obama's return to Selma and implications of the civil rights movement 50 years later. And this is Chair Mike Davis, respondent Mike Davis Monopoly. Ben Voth, Sarah Partlow Lefebvre, Marie, and Michael Eisenstadt. Paper panel. And that and the president will organize a business meeting outside that time.
Probably someplace with fog glass so nobody can see where we're meeting to really help the conspiracy theorists. And I can be like, gave me all the decisions.
It's fine, I'm used to it. People yell at you very much, kid. Some people.
It was real smooth this year, thanks to a whole lot of very willing and timely reviewers. And I think we had more reviewers for the panels than I've had for years.
For most of them?
Yeah. I think 8 for both, although there were a couple that didn't, they didn't all get turned in, but most of them did.
It seems like we also had more rejections than normal, right?
Yeah, although with that extra one getting in, that helps. But that's a good thing. They do look at acceptance rate, and the extra one doesn't count. So we got a little over 50%. I forget exactly what it is. That helps the formula. But the thing, Well, it depends. Every year is different. It depends on who the incoming second vice president of NCA is, who makes a bunch of new decisions every year about how many panels we get and what the formula is. But it is definitely important, it always is, that everybody who's listed show up. They come around, they have people whose job it is to take roll and count that.
I remember,
But you got the Thursday one, right?
I've got the Thursday problem, but I'll work it out.
Well, I did request for those to be pushed later, but I'm not sure. I think I asked them for Friday. I could change that. I still have time.
And whatever happens.
I mean, they explained to me, Kristen, I forget her last name, at NCA explained that with all those people on those panels, they have a bunch of conflicts with other, or people that they submitted papers or participated in panels for. Not everybody, but when you have 12 people on a panel, there's a pretty good likelihood that there are going to be conflicts.
No place to
So they have to find a place to place them when they're not supposed to be over at an AFA panel or an orientation panel or whatever.
Well, thanks for organizing that, Dave. You've been doing it for a while.
It does get a little easier. That was the idea, I guess, when
High learning curves to stay in it for a while.
they change the tech every year, so there are always some things. Yeah,
You're on the cutting edge then.
it cuts me like a knife.
I hope we never update on the website, but Durham hasn't put me back. So.
Mike, I know you invited about 60 people to do those topics, but you can assign me to anything but topicality.
When Dave did the critique last year. Well, that's what I have. So there's nothing else.
Was there anything in any of the region reports that?
I got one report. It was from Gabe.
Way to go,
And
Gabe.
he gave me his report that he's looking for hosts.
Well,
I
good.
did that report even when I didn't have a laptop.
Nice.
That report was all on my phone.
Give me those.
Oh, yes.
You signed it too. I signed it.
I've
Joe
never
signed
signed
it. Who
one.
signs it?
I signed it when I was president. I don't know.
I'll sign it. I'll sign Gabe's name. Bring all your friends to CEDA. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun last time.
It didn't have an attrition clause, right? Okay, that's the main thing I get.
They have a brand new, if anybody went to the last Binghamton CEDA Nationals, they have finished redoing the bar downstairs. And that's where our nightly reception will be. We're still working out how that's gonna work, but so it's nice, it's very comfortable, it's big. Do you remember we met there one night, the bar that was in the basement? It's like a wide, expansive bar with like dartboards and tables and stuff like
How far is it from Syracuse?
that. Hour? You just fly into Syracuse. Syracuse is the best place to fly into if you're gonna be.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
The Binghamton Airport is convenient, but even their rental car place, yeah, it's expensive, and their rental car place has very few cars.
Syracuse is by far the best place to fly into.
How far is it from Newburgh? Far.
Newburgh?
Didn't know it's called up by Army.
Yeah. Probably about maybe a little bit longer than that.
JetBlue goes there.
The Syracuse flights are the cheapest ones. This when we used to live in Rochester, we'd fly into Syracuse and just get off the plane in Rochester. Because it was cheaper to fly into Syracuse, even though your stopover was often in Rochester. No sense. It's funny.
I sent you an email with my numbers. I drove down from Iowa City, which I know it's a long drive, but I don't need to return mileage, so I'm gonna be staying.
Okay. Okay, so
But I gave the mileage from Iowa City to here. If that's too much, you can reduce it to like 817.
the maximum, that comes out to $408. Will you approve the $8? Yeah, okay.
Cause I don't have any other, I don't have a hotel room or.
But is that round trip?
Armand, are you staying at the?
I'm not going back to,
Uh,
I'm staying here, I have debate camps here,
For 3 nights?
so I'm just staying in
But I
Denver.
assume
That's
the
what I
dri-
see, because it seems like there are some people who.
if you were driving back normally,
Oh, yeah.
so
So Armand's has 3 nights at the hotel, so it brings it up to 14 just for the people in this room.
okay. So we're 14 of 80.
80.
Malcolm.
Yeah, we've
has-
committed to 80.
Malcolm has 3, that's 17. We may only be at 40.
We're doomed.
Hope this guy's. He's gonna negotiate because it's also their term in the hotel, so.
I mean, we don't, I guess we don't entirely know how many people are coming in for the topic. Meeting.
I kind of thought WMG would be here by now.
What was that?
Isn't WMG supposed to be here by now?
Yeah, he said he'd be here early afternoon, which is good.
Should we stop in the stream now? Okay.
Unless other people have anything else.
I will give people a minute on the stream to say if they have anything else. Since we're delayed, that gives them like 5 seconds.
Elmira in New York also is an airport people could fly into for CEDA. But I think you're right that Syracuse will usually be.
Also a straight shot, right? The airport's here, the straight shot down 81 for an hour, right? There's not.
I don't remember what happened to us last time. There might have been weather or something like that, but we ended up flying, like we had 12 people and we ended up flying to 3 airports. I believe it was Scranton, Binghamton, and Syracuse.
That's weird.
And, you know, we couldn't rent any big cars anywhere, anything bigger than like a sedan.
Well, that's becoming true most places.
Oh, your internet.
They rent minivans and that's about it.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm on
yeah,
my
the minivan,
phone,
but I mean, a minivan